Welcome, everybody, to the Around 270 Hoops podcast. I'm Luke Carrington. I'm here with Greg Glaser again. Today on the show, we have a ton to talk about. We have a ton of material. It's been 2 weeks since we've done one of these reaction shows, so we're really looking forward to diving into Central Ohio hoops. It's been crazy so far, and we've learned a lot over the last few weeks. So we have a lot of content, so bear with us, but we're going to start with talking about some huge news. It's actually kind of natural news, or national news. And then we're going to dive into some of the games that we went and saw personally. And then we're just going to talk about our rankings, where some of the teams are at, who's hot, who's not, and then we're going to overreact. So thank you for joining us. If you have not done so yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe to our follow our social media, wherever you get social media. And you can also listen to this podcast tomorrow on Spotify and Apple Music. Greg, it's been a couple weeks. How have you been, and what have you seen around the belt lately?
Yeah, Luke, doing well. Last couple of weeks have been fun. It feels like, when the season kicks off, you still get a little bit of like that tail end of football and, Thanksgiving holiday, but it definitely feels like basketball season now. And yeah, I've just been excited to get out to some games and looking forward to a lot of action coming up in the next few weeks. And next thing you know, we're into the new year and the tournament will be right around the corner. So it's been fun. What's new with you?
Busy. I think I'm too old for back-to-backs. So I was at the game of the night on Monday, which actually got moved from Friday to Saturday and then Monday, um, due to various reasons, mostly weather. Obviously the white death outside. Olentangy Orange, the defending champs, hosted Dublin Kaufman. So that was a great game. And then last night, last second, I decided to go across the street from my house to Hilliard Davidson versus Olentangy. I wanted to check out the Braves to see what's going into their hot 5-0 start. But I've been good. It's really exciting. I love what's happening right now. And I've been looking forward to doing this podcast all week. So let's just get right into it. Um, okay, so just to start off, this is a top story for high school basketball, and it's actually kind of a national story. Um, a Cincinnati product, the number 5 prospect in the class of 2028, Cameron Mercer, uh, who started at Winton Woods. He went and played in the semi-pro league, if you want to call it that, overtime elite for Rod Waverly, and he came back just last week to play for Cincinnati Princeton. This is huge news. It's not Central Ohio related, but I think it's something that needs to be mentioned. Mercer is obviously he's top 5. He's number 5 in the country. He has many Division One offers, including Ohio State, Duke, Kentucky, all the Blue Buds. And he goes to a Cincinnati Princeton team that already has some talent, like Amari Gill, and some other players like that. He in his opening game against Lakota East, he scored 14 points, had 2 rebounds and 3 assists. Do you have any thoughts on this, and how do you think this is going to kind of shake up the entire Division One landscape in Ohio going forward this year?
So I was encouraged by this news. Obviously, as you mentioned, we focus on Central Ohio at 270 hoops, but I think what we saw with Cam Mercer making this decision will have a ripple effect all across the state. Yeah, immediately what comes to mind is I think the recent decision by the politicians in Ohio allowing NIL and high school athletes to be compensated was probably the motivating factor for Cam to be able to come back. But I love this because hands up, full bias. I love high school hoops. I think the culture, the traditions, the atmosphere is second to none, especially when you compare it to the prep schools or something like an overtime elite. And I also don't fully believe that you got to go to prep school to be a top end prospect. We've seen some of the best players come from high school. Guess what? LeBron James played in OHSAA. So obviously LeBron's a little bit of an anomaly, but it is just to show that great high school players can play high school basketball. So I look at this as good news. The more talent that we can keep in the state, the better. And what this now does for Division One and the state rankings and what that may look like come March definitely is something to keep an eye on. I know Princeton, was a pretty quality team last year, but this is obviously a huge boost for them. So I'm excited that this development took place, and I hope it creates a trend where it allows players to want to stay in Ohio and play for their high school.
I agree. There's been some teams that have taken hits due to the prep school route and things like that. Um, just a couple names: Jeffrey Reynolds, going to Spire from Olentangy Liberty, and then also Sean Foster, who actually came back. He's back at Lima Senior, which is great. Um, and then Caden Ivory, who left Columbus Academy. But again, like you said, some of the top prospects, they all stay in high school, like Julian Washington. These are 2026s. Julian Washington, Jason Singleton, Marcus Johnson. Like they all stayed, and they're all going to go play Division One basketball. So I agree. I don't think you need to do that either. Okay. So yeah, that was just a quick touch on that. I thought it deserved our attention. I think Princeton is immediately a contender for the state championship. I don't know enough about them to really go into a detail about that right now. I know they're 4-1. They have a loss to Mason, who's undefeated, 6-0. So they're on the right track, and obviously they have the dude that can put them over the top. Let's go ahead and transition to Central Ohio here. So talk about the two games that you went to. Reynoldsburg playing Whitmer, and then Genoa Christian beating Delaware Christian.
Yeah, so since we've been on the podcast, last two games I have covered were the two that you mentioned. They both have been giant blowouts, both 30-point plus differential wins, with Reynoldsburg first, taking care of Whitmer. And even though it wasn't a close game, I was just really eager to see this Reynoldsburg team. And what I came away with was, first off, Xavier McKinney, he was tremendous. Like, he looks like he took another level from last season. He's just really dynamic, can do a lot of things on the floor. It looks like he's really improved his shooting. He had just some really difficult contested shots that he was able to make. That was fun to watch. And of course, Jordy Bowens is a solid 4-year varsity player. But I think my takeaway with Reynoldsburg is that they are much deeper this year. So last season, they really went like just one guy off the bench, which was Makai Roddy, who was just a freshman last year. Against Whitmer, the entire team played. Now, granted, it was a blowout, but I got to chat with Coach Andrew Moore before and after the game. And he was talking about how they are able to go about 3 deep off the bench now, playing about 8 guys. And then he said the next 2 or 3 guys behind that can still get some run as well. And I think that's going to be a really big improvement from Reynoldsburg this year, because they, as you know, they run. They are always gunning. They're fast, but that can lead to a little bit of fatigue. And I think when he can get some fresh legs in there every couple minutes or so, that'll allow, especially the starting 5, to just stay fresh and have a little bit more energy all throughout the 4 quarters. So that even though last year they would lose, or they still would win some games, they would sometimes collapse a bit in the 4th quarter, even though they would still be able to pull it out. Maybe this year that'll help kind of prevent that as well. So, Whitmer's not good. So it's really kind of hard to truly gauge Reynoldsburg based off this game. Like, Whitmer has been getting blown out like almost all of their games. But what I do think, and I think Reynoldsburg, it's going to be hard for them to like replicate their record last year. I mean, they already lost 1 game, which they only lost 1 game in the regular season last year. So I don't think it's realistic to think that they'll necessarily have the regular season success mirrored from last season. But I saw enough from them that I think that they are absolutely going to be a contender, come March. I think they're going to always hover within that top 3 in our Central Ohio rankings. And I also do want to say, Makai Roddy, he was a freshman last year who got a lot of play. He's really good. Like it's just, I think as he continues to develop, stay committed on the defensive end, but he just kind of has that build and that natural feel that to me, I think has a high ceiling when it comes from a prospect level. So between him, Jordy, Xavier, and they got some other guys now. They're getting some more varsity run, like Rashad Perry, Chavis Wilson, Xavier's brother, Braylon McKinney. I came away encouraged with what I think Reynoldsburg is able to do this year.
Yeah. I haven't seen Reynoldsburg yet this year, but I'm looking forward to it. The depth is going to be a big deal for them. Like you said, I think it's going to make a big difference if they're able to utilize that. Um,
Yes.
so did you want to go into a little bit with your Genoa Christian and Delaware
Yes.
Christian game?
I was really eager to check out Genoa Christian, just because I knew last year they were starting to really have some success, and last year they weren't approved yet to play in the OHSAA tournament, get any of the conference titles, things of that nature. Well, they've now been approved for it. They've done all the right things and the admin's eyes and whatnot to get to that level. And their Division Seven, I think, this is the first Division Seven game I've ever covered. But man, they won. They beat Delaware Christian, who went into this game undefeated, but they won, I believe, by 33 points. And I knew going in that they had two guys that were really good. So Jackson Carrera, who was a special mention All Ohio selection last year as a sophomore, he's starting to be a scholarship prospect. Got a couple Division two offers. Ohio University sent him an offer earlier a few months ago, and then they have Evan Allgood, who's now a sophomore guard, and they were tremendous. They were the two lead scorers for the Lions, but I came away impressed with the whole team. Like I didn't think there was a weak spot amongst any of the five players on the court at any given time. They were aggressive on defense. They passed the ball really well. And what I like about what head coach Sam Smith is doing is that he knows he has a good team, and he knows that this team can honestly make some noise in Division Seven. So he's being ambitious with their schedule this year. They lost the season opener to, I believe, Orville in overtime. They got beat by Bishop Hartley by about 30 points, but Bishop Hartley is a team that could contend for a state title in Division Three. And then they're playing other teams like Canton McKinley, Bishop Watterson, Mansfield Senior. And so, even though they may not win those games, they are absolutely testing themselves and challenging themselves to be a really strong contender, come tournament season. So it was just really good basketball. I hope to check them out again soon. And if you're not familiar with these guys now, check them out. They are really good. Jackson Kura, he's like 6'6". You can tell he's got a really good shot. I think he can improve a little bit on the consistency, but he has just a really good form to it. But he can handle the ball like a guard. It makes sense that he's a Division One prospect. So that's a lot of fun to watch for this newer team, if you will.
For sure. Okay. I love it. Next, I'll talk about the games I went to. So I've kind of been all over the place, maybe a little too ambitious for my own good.
Hey, you're
Um,
excited, man. The season just kicked
no,
off.
it's been fun. I'm
Like,
having a
Justin, I want
blast.
to be out at a game almost every night if my schedule allowed it. I mean, there's so many teams and players I do want to see, but I know we got lives and families and stuff like that. But it's good to get out when you can.
Yeah. Maybe I might need to rein it back a little bit, but we'll see. Anyway, I went to a game, I guess it was a week and a half ago now. It was New Albany's opener. They played Grove City. It was a great matchup between Division One commit Toledo commit Marco Matucci and up and coming sophomore point guard Jacob Saxon. Marco it was slow start for New Albany in general, as you'd expect from their first game. Grove City is much improved, and it ended up being a great game. In the fourth quarter, New Albany ended up pulling away 65-50. Marco had 8 points. He had 6 rebounds. He was getting close to triple double territory. Jake Saxon had 18 points, and he's a phenomenal point guard, one of the best sophomores in the state. So that was a great game to see. Then I went to a matchup of the top two Division 5 teams in our rankings. So River Valley went and visited Jonathan Alder. Jonathan Alder just came off of a surprising in-conference loss at Urbana, which I was not
That's
expecting.
they're Division 4, right?
Division four. I'm so sorry. I said
That's
five, didn't I?
just double check.
Yeah, I meant four. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for correcting me. So yeah, the number one and two teams in Division four. And it was a good game for a while. Jonathan Alder has a lot of size this year. So they start 2 6'5" bigs, Garrett Bauer and Chase Metzel. They're two seniors. And then they have a big coming off the bench that's only a sophomore, 6'9" Byron Byerly. Like he's got a chance to be like a league player of the year type in a year or two. But the show was stolen by sophomore guard Danny Bentley, who is one of the best sophomores in Central Ohio. He ended up with 28 points that night, and then he followed it up on Friday after that against Kenton Ridge with 33 points. So, he's getting buckets right now. um, Danny can score all over the place. He goes 100, 100% all the time. He has great skill. He's extremely quick. There were 4 times that he just rebounded the ball and just took it coast to coast without anybody stopping him. Just because it wasn't like River Valley wasn't trying. He was just so much faster than everybody else. He's a good finisher, great competitor. I really like Bentley's game. River Valley, they ended up losing the game 68-43. River Valley's actually dropped another one since then to Bishop Watterson. We'll talk about them in a minute. But I think River Valley is going to be really good. I think they're one of the favorites in the MOAC conference. They have a couple nice players in senior point guard Chase Smith and junior wing Carter Myers, who is the one I was looking forward to seeing the most, just because I'd heard a lot of good things. Carter started off hot, ended up with 20 points. He seemed unstoppable early, but Jonathan Alder adjusted in the second half and was able to defend those two really well. The next one, which was my favorite, and that was just on this Monday, was Dublin Kaufman at Olentangy Orange. So Orange, obviously coming off their state championship in basketball, haven't played since March, and they pushed back a few of their games due to a state championship in football, which is wild. That obviously Division 1 team won both of those things in the same year. And their key to their team and the leader of their team is clearly uh, point guard Trayton Schroeder, who is first team all state cornerback on that football team. So I was able to talk to Trayton after the game, and he literally had 3 days of practice before this game. And he was not, he admitted that he was not in basketball shape. Um, this game it started crazy. I'm in the Olentangy Orange section, and they go up 13-0. It starts the game on a slip from junior Grant Miller for a dunk, which was a phenomenal play call. And then Kaufman didn't even get up their first shot attempt before Orange had 9 points on the board. So it was crazy. It seemed like Orange was going to roll like they've done so many times. But Kaufman stayed in it. Luke Mullenkamp, Thomas Cochran were huge. Gabe Schmidt picked up his third foul in the first quarter, so he had to sit until the third. And he only had 3 points in the first half. He ended with 14. Thomas ended up with 20. And then Luke Mullenkamp, the sophomore that we've talked about, ended up with 15. So great win for Kaufman. They ended up winning by 5. Couple big shots in that game. It is the first loss for Olentangy Orange at home since February 3rd of 2024, and their first OCC Central loss since February 2023. So those are some wild stats. I don't think they're ever really going to be matched. But Coughlin was able to break that streak.
Yeah,
And
so I know we're going to talk about Kaufman in a little bit because it's been kind of a crazy week for them. But just a quick talk about that game. I know I was starting to going into that. I was starting to feel like Kaufman really was looking like a top 3 to 5, team in the area. Um, And what you just mentioned with Olentangy Orange, even with all that they lost, those stats, right? They just are so used to winning at home, winning their conference games. But I wasn't terribly surprised that Kaufman was able to pull this off, not only because I think Kaufman's really good, but as you mentioned, Trayton's only had 3 days of practice, and just getting he's their key player, just getting that chemistry, and Kaufman just has so much more returning experience. So it was a little surprising, but not that surprising for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I wasn't surprised by the outcome. I wouldn't have predicted it, but Kaufman is very good, and Orange, like I think we've talked about before, and I wrote an article about it at the beginning of the year. It's going to take some time for this Pioneer team. They have a lot of guys that do not have varsity experience. Trayton's obviously the leader of the team. He has not been forced into a scoring role really at any point in his career. Um, and now he's going to have to be that. He's going to have to get some scoring help, obviously, from Grant Miller, who we all think is a great player at 6'8", obviously. But also some other seniors who haven't played a lot, such as Xavier Aguila, Elijah Manley, and Reed Wilson. Those guys are going to really have to step up. And then they've got to find a way to get some production off their bench, whether it's Brian Seal or Garrett Peterson or one of those guys. They're going to have to find a way to get some points that way.
And I
But
think kind of like
yeah, go ahead.
Reynoldsburg, it's going to be hard for them to replicate the regular season success that they had from last season. But I think by the time they, get into mid-January, early February, they're going to look like a different team and still be a force come tournament time.
Yeah, like I was about to say, and I agree with you. I think that it's just they're going to be fine. It's just going to take some time.
For sure.
We'll talk about Orange again here in a little bit as well. The last game I went to was yesterday. Olentangy 58, Hilliard Davidson 43. Olentangy really controlled this game. They're 5-0, and I really love what they've got going. I talked to Coach John Fiesel after the game, who this is his first 5-0 start in his 9-year tenure as the boys coach of that school. And he really loves his depth this year. He talked about how his guys are really unselfish. He calls them brothers. They call each other brothers. And they have something that not a lot of people have, and it's a 6'9" monster in the middle. He's just really hard to guard. Jackson Mangum. He has 8 offers total. He was committed to Toledo as a 3-star tight end for football, but he just reopened his commitment yesterday because I talked to him after the game as well. All of the coaches left for UConn. So they gave him a chance to transfer if he wants to. So he's not sure what he's doing.
I saw he
Um,
got an offer from UConn, like
yeah, they want him to
beginning.
come. They want him to come with them. So it's an interesting situation for Jackson. I'd love to see him play some scholarship level hoops. But it's gonna be up to him, obviously. But anyway, he was great. He had a double double his first of the year. He had 11 points and 13 rebounds. Just a monster. Had a great slip screen at the end of the first half for a left-handed dunk. If you look on social media, I'm sure you've seen it at this point. So Mangum's a beast. They've got some other great players such as Ty Walburn, who's a senior, doesn't miss from three very often. Also was very consistent yesterday with 7 rebounds as well at the guard position. And then they also have some other guys like the Page brothers, Quentin and Quentin and his brother. I can't remember his brother's name right now, but they were both phenomenal in the game as well. And then they've got a good bench. So I think Olentangy, there's a chance they could make a run in D1. I think they have an opportunity this year. This might be the best team that Fiesel's had. There's a
Yeah, I
chance.
think if you kind of look at first few weeks of the season, some teams that are playing above what they were maybe ranked in the preseason, Olentangy's got to be at the top of that list.
Agreed. Okay. So those were the games that I went to. Let's go ahead and move on here. I lost my notes. Sorry. Okay. So let's just talk about like kind of the higher level teams and just see where we're at, and let's overreact a little bit. So let's start with Dublin Coffin, who had the weirdest week ever.
Yeah.
So they blow out Olentangy Liberty at home. who's ranked number 7 in our rankings for Division 1, 79-68, a ton of points. Gabe Schmidt has a career high 41 in
That
that
blew my
game.
mind. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. I think Gabe's a great player. I think he's actually probably one of the most underrated players in this 2026 class. You don't see many guys drop 41 now, and I love to see. I think he picked up a Division 2 offer from Pitt Johnstown shortly after that, I want to say. And he is a scholarship player, so he deserves that recognition. And he, again, is one of the reasons why I think Kaufman's going to be one of the best teams in the area.
I agree. Um, Definitely. But yes, he picked it up right after the game. He's been talking to some other guys too. Um, and then the big one, they go on Monday, they go and beat Olentangy Orange on the road. Thomas Cochran, who's a guy we've talked about, sophomore, has 2 Division 1 offers. He had 20 points to kind of lead the way there. But then the next day, it's kind of wild. They lost to Harvest Prep at home. So Harvest Prep is our 6th ranked team in Division 5. They were 0-2, with a couple tight losses. Um, I mean, I don't know what to make of that. I wasn't there, but I do know that Thomas Cochran did not play due to a tweak of his ankle in the Orange game, which I did not see. But that's what the report is. And then also, bench player senior Chathan Singri, who's a great 3-and-D guy, he also did not play. Um, but despite that, I thought it was just kind of a wild score when I heard that. Um, so just to get your take on this, like, do you think this says more about the Shamrocks or more about the Warriors?
Oh man, I tweeted last night that the Harvest Prep win it might be the most surprising result we see all season, right? Especially what we saw Kaufman do before him. Before we dip into the Harvest Prep, I did want to real quick talk about Thomas Cochran though, because he, preseason, I know you were leading the charge, really high on him. Talk about how he could maybe be a conference player of the year in their division. And you were at the game, but I saw the highlights. Like, man, he looked really good. I mean, he just looked really skilled, confident, athletic. So just shout out to Thomas, and clearly his absence then uh, played an impact against not being available for Harvest Prep. So I have to wonder. Yeah, I think an emotional letdown is natural, especially when it's one day. Had they maybe played Harvest Prep 2 or 3 days later, it'd be a different story. And of course, if Cochran's healthy, um, I don't know what to read into. Maybe we shouldn't even read too much into it. It's just like one game. Like I remember last year, Reynoldsburg lost the game to DeSales when they were undefeated, and DeSales was a good team last year, but they weren't anything crazy. Um, so I guess I'm not reading too much into it. It is a nice confidence win for Harvest Prep, who is a good program. I don't think they have the talent like we saw, like those 2018, 2019, 2020 years, things like that. But it makes me second guess them a little bit now to think, okay, maybe they can make some noise in Division 5. I'm not going to hit the panic button on Kaufman yet. That'd be silly to hit the panic button on them, especially after a great win against Orange, a great win against Olentangy Liberty. I'm definitely eager to see how they respond now, to see if this will be a trend for them or if this was just kind of a rare thing that we shouldn't look too much into.
I'm kind of leaning the same thing with you. From what I heard from the game, they threw a lot of guys at Gabe, and Gabe ended up with 17 points, but I feel like they just didn't get a lot of stops. I mean, they gave up 67 in the game. I feel like if you score 62, they scored 62 against Orange. You think they'd have it like really be in a good place to win that game. So, um, it's interesting. I'm gonna chalk it up to just kind of a bad day for Kaufman right now, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on for sure going forward. Um, all right, so we kind of talked about Reynoldsburg already. They're number 2 in our rankings. They've won straight through 4 straight by double digits after their first game loss to Lutheran East. So I think they're rolling right now. Newark. So Newark's a really interesting one, and now that Orange has been knocked off, they're kind of I think they have a shot to be that number 1 spot in our next week's ranking. They beat Groveport by 30, which was a surprising one to me, seeing what Groveport did last year, winning the district. 69-39. But we're gonna see a lot from Newark coming up here. They have a huge game on Friday, and it's probably the game of the day. They host 5-0 Pickerington Central, who is number 5 in our D1 rankings. I know Zach is going to that game, so there'll be video on that. And then on Saturday, they have another huge game, and this is at the 5C Classic, which is one of the great holiday events that high school hoops has. And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But they play number 1 in Division 5 Afrocentric, who's also undefeated and is probably right now the favorite to win the City League, and probably the favorite to come out of the Central District. So what do you think about Newark's chances of kind of running the table the rest of this weekend? And then maybe claiming that number 1 spot?
So actually, honestly, if we were to make power rankings today, I would have Newark first. I saw them against Bishop Hartley where they played tremendous. I mean, Jake Quackenbush looked like a man on a mission. I think he's going to be a first team all Central District State or all Central District player, and that would probably lead to some type of mention on one of the all state teams. But he's got a really good supporting cast, and Newark's just a program that you can always just trust to have a good culture and play well. But based off their win, so that Hartley win, and then the big 30-point win over Groveport makes me think, man, this team's pretty serious. I think they have probably arguably one of the best resumes. I can't wait to see what happens against the Pickerington Central on Friday, because Pickerington Central is playing really well too. They've been winning a lot of their games by double digits. Haven't had a great big test yet, so I'm very intrigued by this matchup. And then Afrocentric, I've been really high on Afrocentric so far this year. D1 down to D5. It's going to be a little bit of a difference in terms of just how many kids are in the school and whatnot. You don't usually see D5 teams beat D1 teams, but they went if Newark wins both those games this weekend, they have to be number 1 in the power rankings.
I mean, you say that, but then it just happened with Harvest Prep beating
I
Tubman
know, I
Coffin. So
know.
it
That's
can
true. Yeah,
happen.
yeah, right. You're right. I just said that, and then sure enough, we had it literally happen yesterday. So that's what makes the season fun, though.
Yeah, yeah, it's been wild so far. All right. Another one is another kind of it's a little bit of a sleeper. They probably shouldn't be at this point, and we kind of mentioned them earlier. But Olentangy, they're 5-0. I think they're the clear cut favorite to win a down OCC Buckeye. I think we both picked Berlin at the beginning of the year, but Berlin hasn't been as strong as Olentangy so far. Olentangy plays Hilliard Darby on Friday, who is searching for their first win. So you think it's likely they go to start 6-0. So I just think that Fiesel's got that team rolling. They really trust each other. They're deep. They move the ball. They could really shoot it, and they've got a dominant paint force. Just kind of a little bit of everything for the Braves. All right. So down here in D2, we haven't talked about this team yet. And there's not really much to say about them, but Westerville North, they just keep rolling.
Yeah.
They Westerville North, Zach actually sent me a text yesterday, which was very interesting. Because I think Division 1 is very cluttered right now. It's kind of hard to tell who the best team is. But would you rather take the top 3 in Division 1, which we had, well, the potential top 3, I guess, Dublin Kaufman, Newark, and Pickerington Central? Or would you rather, or I'm sorry, Reynoldsburg, not Pickerington Central, or would you rather take the top 3 in Division 2, Westerville North, Big Walnut, and New Albany? And honestly, I didn't know what to say. Like, that's really close. But right now, I tend to think Westerville North's the best of all of them. Do you think I'm wrong to say that?
Nope, 100% agree. I said the same thing with some people yesterday about Westerville North that regardless of division, I think they're the best team in the area just based off of what they did last year. And I mean, they're just continuing to just crush teams. Like they beat a decent, pretty good Westerville South team, or a team that at least has some talent by what almost 40, I think. I think they held Westerville South like under 30 points, something crazy. They have not missed a beat, and I know they graduated a couple really good players in Ty Perkins and Micah Young, but I think the guys that they brought back, they are significantly better than they were last year. And so when you talk about that top three, I'd probably maybe lean collectively to the D1. But if I had to pick one team to win it all, I'm high on Westerville North. It's just really impressive what that program has been able to do on such a consistent level.
Okay, real quick, and this is really awesome for this podcast, but I have some like breaking news, or you might have known this, but I just want to at least see. I got a text from my buddy Brennan Lewis, who runs All Ohio Hoops,
Uh-huh.
um, and he sent me a screenshot of Zach's tweet that says that the Groveport Madison has a big addition in forward Marcus Hemphill from Bishop Hartley. So apparently Marcus, he didn't play the first few games for Hartley, but apparently he's transferred to Groveport and is eligible to play tonight. That is wild. Wild news.
I learned about that yesterday as well. I won't go into specifics why that all happened, but uh, long story short, it's a big blow for Hartley and it's a big gain for Groveport.
Okay. All right, we'll keep it at that. All right. Um, okay, let's move on to Division 3. So we've talked about this team and how much we love them so far, and it's Centennial. So Centennial did something that they haven't done in a long time. I think we
Oh,
kind of had to,
real quick,
yep.
sorry, Luke. I do want to go real quick back to Westville North. One quick comment I did want to make before the breaking news there. I am very eager to see what their game is like on Sunday against Lutheran East, because we saw Lutheran East beat Reynoldsburg. So if Westerville North can beat Lutheran East, that to me really tells me that they are the best team in the area. So sorry, I wanted to just get that thrown out there because that is a heck of a game this weekend.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, and then the breaking news kind of like shook that up. That I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Um, so getting back to Centennial, they beat Northland, who is 1-3 right now. 65-61 at home. Did you confirm how long it's been since Centennial's beaten Northland?
So I know our outlet had posted it had been like 40, 50 straight games or something like that, that like Northland had won. There was a correction made. Centennial did beat Northland. I think it was like 2018. So it hadn't been like, decades since it happened. But long story short, Northland has won, 95% of those games for like the last 20 years. So nonetheless, it was still an unusual outcome. But I wasn't surprised. Like I've been high on the Stars as far as them being the the team to beat in the North Division, and they're in the driver's seat now. So as long as they don't trip up in conference play, they're going to be representing the North in the Columbus City League. And they just have a really solid squad. Keon Bonner is a great player. Cam Johnson, he's another sophomore. We talked about a lot of sophomores. This sophomore class is really good, and he's one of those players. So I was happy for that school, that program. I know that meant a lot to them and gave them confidence. But what they have to manage now is the expectation. So they will have a little bit more of a target on their back. So how can they handle that now being the hunted versus the hunters? So, but shout out to the Centennial though. That was a really big important win for them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit about the CCL. So, it looks like the CCL doesn't have a single bad team in it. And now with this news that we have, it seems like almost like kind of wide open, which is crazy because we both picked Bishop Hartley to go undefeated or only have like one loss in the league. But right now, DeSales, who's ranked number 2, in Division 4, right, or 3, right, Division 3.
Sales is
Um,
Division 3. Yeah.
and then Watterson is ranked number 4 in Division 3, and they got their first win because of another long football state championship run, and they beat River Valley by 20, which I think very highly of River Valley.
Mhm.
So that shows that Watterson might be for real. And then St. Charles, who's number 5 in our rankings in Division 2, they're 4-1. So
Yeah.
the CCL looks like kind of a little bit of a wide open race right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually, so when I was at the Genoa Christian game on Monday night, Bishop Watterson head coach Vince Lombardo, I sat next to him as he was scouting them because they're going to be playing later this year. And I just made that comment to him. I said, hey, this is a wide open league where every team has really been off to a strong start. Shout out to St. Charles. I didn't see their 4-1 start. Um, Going into the season. They really have not been very competitive since Chase Walker had graduated. But they've been able to put together some nice wins, and so with them being the biggest school out of the CCL division wise, I think there's someone to take serious. Waterson, it's that win last night was impressive because they had 10 guys from football. Um, that are on the basketball team this year. And I think Coach Lombardo told me that they've really have only gotten a handful of practice days in there. So for them to go in and put a pretty sound victory over, like you said, a good River Valley team, that tells me that Watterson is going to be tough as nails to play this year. DeSales, even though they graduated a tremendous player in PJ Knowles, it seems like the team just has a little bit better depth this year too. So, and yeah, with this Hartley news now, I don't know if they are as much of a favorite as we would have thought a few weeks ago. And yeah, CCL games are going to be a lot of fun for the next few months.
Yeah, I think the game that kind of surprised me that I saw, that made me feel like St. Charles is back on track was their win over Bishop Reedy, who I thought
Yeah.
was a very good team and still think they're very good in Division 5. But yeah, St. Charles took care of business. So St. Charles has got a nice squad so far this year, off to a great start at 4-1. Okay, so Division 4, we talked about Jonathan Alder a little bit. So they've
Mhm.
won three straight after a kind of weird loss to Urbana. That loss to Urbana that occurred a couple weeks ago, I talked to their head coach, Derek Dickey. He said they missed 17 shots around the rim, um, which, he obviously wanted back. But they've come off three straight here, River Valley, Kenton Ridge, and Indian Lake, who last night they beat by 2 on the road. We both had Indian Lake winning the other side of that, the CBC. So that's a great win for Alder. And we talked about their depth. We've talked about Danny Bentley already. They have a few good games coming up, which we'll get to. So let's go ahead and get into what's in store for the weekend. And there is a lot because we've got some great events. I hope you're sticking around Columbus this weekend, because there is a lot of hoops and there is a lot of excellent matchups and awesome prospects to watch. So Friday we talked about number 3 Newark versus number 3 Pick Central, which is a great game. Greg, you're going to be going to cover number 7 Olentangy Liberty at number 6 Hilliard Bradley. So do you want to preview that real quick?
Yeah, I'm really excited to check out Olentangy Liberty at Hilliard Bradley this Friday. Starting with Olentangy Liberty, that was a team I thought they just lost too much from last season to be, I think one of the better teams this year. And although I don't necessarily think Patriots are going to be, a team that'll be competing for like a regional title or anything like that. I mean, they may, but they're kind of like Olentangy, they have outperformed what I had expected them already going into this season. And I think that's a testament to Coach Greg Nossman, that you just, no matter who he has, he's going to get his teams ready, and they're going to be a tough out no matter who they play. They got a nice win over Upper Arlington. So eager to see them. And then Hilliard Bradley, also, they're starting to get there after they lost the first game of the season. They've been able to pick up some nice wins. And Ben Murgon, I saw he hit 7 threes. I believe it was against Hilliard Davidson. Him and Kipton Norris, his teammate, I saw that they were also guests at the UD University of Dayton basketball game. I think it was just last night as well. So they're great. I mean, it's going to be hard to find a better backcourt than those two. But the OCC Central, every game is almost always competitive. And every game matters. Like, you cannot fall too far behind in the standings, especially when you've got teams like Kaufman and Orange in the mix there as well. So I haven't seen either of these teams yet this year, so I'm very excited to check out both of them.
Yeah, for sure. That I again, the OCC Central, having coached in it, is one of the best leagues in the state, I think. Another good one is it's a rivalry game. London's a little bit down, but Jonathan Alder is at London, so keep an eye on that one. If I go to a game, which I haven't decided if I'm going, like I said, I'm wearing myself out, but I'll probably go to that one. Okay, so Saturday and Sunday, and I guess it continues on to Monday. Is like one of the biggest basketball events that we've ever had in Central Ohio. It's called the Holiday Hoopla. And we were there last year doing video. It's at the Columbus Convention Center. It's a massive event. And they've got some awesome out of town versus in town matchups. A lot of the teams we don't know really anything about because a lot of them are out of state, and things like that. But a few of the good ones Saturday, number two, Columbus Academy, who's kind of righted the ship a little bit. They're 3-2, in D5. They face Huber Heights Wayne, and just a heads up on Wayne, they just beat Centerville by 20. They're undefeated, and they've got a few great players, such as Caden Post and a big Alfonso Ward and a few really tough guards. So that's going to be an excellent game there for Academy. On Sunday, Olentangy Orange, who is still our number one in Division One right now, faces Cincinnati Aiken, who rode the wave of a Jaden Arnold Division One commit all the way to the state championship. I think Aiken's a little bit down, but they are very athletic, so it's going to be a very interesting contrast of styles in that one. And then also on Sunday, number one in Division Four, Jonathan Alder faces Tri Village, who is a Division Six team who had the Division Six Player of the Year, Trey Sagister, on it. Two small schools. Tri Village is very good, and they'll give Aller a great challenge in that one. Getting to another awesome event, which a lot of it's at the same time, so you'll kind of have to choose which one you're gonna go to, if you're gonna go to one of them. Um, it is the 5C Classic at Capitol, and all of the games will be covered by 270 Hoops for that event. Um, One of them is we talked about Afrocentric is playing Newark. That's on Saturday. Another one on Saturday is Orange against St. Ignatius. So this is a rematch of last year's Final Four in which Orange won in overtime, and the last two state champions. Um, Orange actually plays 3 days in a row, which is crazy. So they play Friday against Upper Arlington at home, then they play St. Ignatius, and then they play Aiken. So 3 days in a row.
It's a
So
good way for Trayton to get in basketball shape. Nothing like 3 straight day of games.
yeah, trial and error, I guess, for
Yeah.
them. So good luck to the Pioneers. They're really going through a gauntlet here this weekend. So we've got number three on Saturday as well. Number three in Division Three, Bishop Hartley is playing Summit Country Day. So Summit Country Day has a great 2026 a 6'8" wing prospect, Tim Martin, who is committed to St. Louis. He's actually the AAU teammate of Bishop Hartley's Ja'Kai Calloway. So that clash is going to be really interesting as well.
Yeah, that one stands out to me because I am very curious to see. I think the styles match up really well between Hartley and Summit Country Day. I got to see Country Day last year when Columbus Academy beat them. What was that a state? It was the Final Four. Yeah, so go to the state championship. And so, but with Hartley without Hemphill now, that's going to be tough to find a guy to match up with Tim Martin. So this is gonna be a really good test for Hartley. If they can win this, that's a really positive, encouraging sign. On the flip side, though, if they lose, then it's like, oh boy, like do they have some holes that maybe we didn't expect going into the season?
Yeah, it's going to be a good test, just to kind of see where Hartley's at without Hemphill. Um, Another one, and this one is just kind of close to my heart personally, and I'm not going to be able to see it, but I'd love to. It's on Sunday, number 7 in Division One. Liberty plays Brunswick. So Brunswick is a top 5 or 6 team in Division One if you look at most rankings in the entire state, and it's because they have two studs. One of them is Trey Drexler, who is committed to IU Indy Division One team. And he is a Mr. Basketball candidate. This kid can really go. He can score from anywhere. He's a lefty. He's the coolest thing about him from watching him and getting to know him is that He's like the most competitive person I've ever been around when it comes to hoops.
I
Um,
I saw Trey last year, and he became one of my favorite players in Ohio, not from Central Ohio, to watch. So, like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Trey. I thought that was a great pickup for IU Indy. Getting to watch IU Indy against Ohio State and seeing how they like to play, I think Trey's a great fit. So, Liberty's going to have their hands full trying to contain him. So that will be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, Brunswick also has a big 6'5" Sean Barnett who's committed to D2 Flagler College in Florida. Sounds like an awesome place to play hoops. And he's a stud too. So Brunswick is a team that you're gonna be looking for into March for sure. Um, so yeah, that I would recommend that game if you can. The next one is on Sunday at the 5C Classic at Capitol is number 5 in Division 1. Pick Central plays a Youngstown Ursuline. So Youngstown Ursuline has a couple studs on their team. They've got the coach's kid Jalen Gunther, who has several MAC authors already. He's a real little guard, but he's just shifty and just can kind of do everything. Really, really great player. And then Noah Bell, who is a nice wing for them, really physical, just very tough in the paint, can also hit an outside shot. So that's going to be a great test for Pickerington Central. And then a couple more here. We have Westerville North, who's our number 1 in Division 2. They play Lutheran East, so we kind of talked about this as a barometer to see how good Westerville North really is. So if you remember, Lutheran East beat Reynoldsburg to begin the season. So if Westerville North can beat Lutheran East, I think we have a good idea of maybe who the best team in Central Ohio is. And it could be the Warriors. So that's going to be a good one to see kind of where everybody's at. Um, and then the last one I have on this list, I could keep going, but I'll just kind of end here is Reynoldsburg, and this might actually be the best one. Number 2, Reynoldsburg in Division 1, who is against most people's number 1 in the entire state, Lakota West. So Lakota West has 2 Division 1 prospects, Josh Tyson and Bryce Curry. Josh Tyson has Ohio State offer as amongst others. And it's just athlete for athlete. Like if you want to watch star power, that's the one.
Well, Lakota, they're going to have revenge on their mind, man, because they lost a heartbreaker to Reynoldsburg for a berth to the state championship last year. Incredible comeback by Reynoldsburg. Xavier McKinney was left wide open for, I don't know, maybe like a 5-foot shot right outside the rim there. No, that's a fantastic matchup. Their styles match well against each other. That duo from Lakota West that you mentioned is really impressive. Some of the best players, not only in the state, I'd probably say like in the Midwest. So, really good games here. Actually, I like this question that we got in the chat from longtime 270 Hoops contributor Darkel Curry. He asked, "What matchup are you most excited for at the 5C Classic?" So I'll let you start with that, Luke.
It's a great question. For some reason, the comments aren't showing up for me right now, so you'll have to read them off. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, personally, I am interested in seeing Liberty versus Brunswick just because I want to see Trey play. I think he's my favorite player to watch in outside of Central Ohio. But the best matchup, and the one I guess that I'm most interested in seeing the outcome of is Westerville North versus Lutheran East, just because I really want to get a test on who the best team in Central Ohio is. And if the Warriors can beat Lutheran East, I think we have a good idea of who that is.
I'm having a hard time making a decision here. I'm looking at the games we mentioned, and every matchup has a great storyline to it. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say on Saturday. I'm very curious about Hartley versus Summit Country Day. I'm really curious to see what this Hartley team can or cannot be. Um, and then on Sunday, yeah, Westville North versus Lutheran East. And I think, again, what I said earlier, that the intrigue of Lutheran East beating Reynoldsburg to start the season tells me a lot about them, even though just given their past success in the state tournament. But this will be a really good test for Westerville North, and we can just see, like, hey, can they beat these guys by double digits? Let alone just win. But that'll tell us a lot about Westerville North too. So tremendous schedule. It's one of those weekends where you wish you could be at multiple places at once. So overall, it's a great weekend if you're a fan of high school basketball.
And if you're not able to make the games, just look out on our Instagram, our YouTube, our X. You'll be able to watch highlights and full game videos, as we'll be at a lot of games this weekend, and we'll be at all of the games in the 5C Classic. All right. Any other comments you want to get to?
No, I think we covered a lot. I know we could talk about this for hours though, so I know we'll have a lot more to talk about next week because all the games we mentioned coming up this weekend. So it's like just kind of peeling back a layer by layer each week. We get to know a little bit more about each team, and the picture starts to become a little bit more clear. So we'll see who can keep rising, and we'll see who starts to fall. But it's been a lot of fun so far.
Yep, I'm having a blast. Thanks, Greg. I had a lot of fun tonight, and we'll see you soon.